Hello and welcome. You are now looking at a WordPress website. You're actually looking at the admin panel. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a connection between Google Analytics and our WordPress website. Now, you're going to do this through an installed plugin. And so if you don't already have a plugin that accepts Google Analytics, you're going to go and you're going to click the Add New link where you see the plugin section. So you can actually click this plugin section. You can then click the Add New button. And what you're going to do when you get there is you're going to click inside of this dialog box. You're just going to write in Google Analytics. Now, WordPress has a number of plugins available. You'll typically want to make sure that you have one that is reviewed and that has a good track record of updating the plugin. Once you find one with good reviews and a fair number of installs, you're going to click the Install Now button. Once you do that, you're going to click Activate, and then you'll see the plugin has been installed in your plugin directory. So what you're going to do now is you want to hover over your settings area, and then you want to go down to the link in the menu. Now, in some cases, you'll see the plugin, depending on which one you install, they'll actually have its own separate menu someplace on the left side menu, but typically you'll see one in the settings area. So go ahead and click the link that says Google Analytics. Now, in this particular case, you are going to have some configuration that you're going to need to do. We're going to dismiss this notice and save the preference. And then we're going to come into the plugin settings. So you'll notice right away that you're going to be asked for a Google Analytics property ID. Now that's going to refer to the ID that we saw in Google Analytics when we created a website property. So let's go back to Google Analytics right now. And you'll notice that there is a tracking ID. We're going to copy that ID, and then we're going to carry it back to our website. And then we're going to enter the property ID. We're then going to click Enable on our site. Now, once we've enabled analytics, all the other settings are going to be optional if you know that you want to configure them. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to two other settings. We're going to enable Google Analytics in the WordPress admin area, and we're going to disable it for other users. Once we do that, we're going to then click Settings. Now, some plugins will be ready almost immediately. Other plugins expect 24 to 48 hours, as is the case with the plugin that you're watching right here. But typically, if you know your property ID and you can actually enable a few clicks, you can set up Google Analytics with your WordPress website. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Hello and welcome. You are now looking at an HTML-based website. And it's quite possible that you'll want to track the activity on this particular page or site. If that's the case, you are going to be able to place your Google Analytics code on the page where your site is. So we're going to go through that process in this video. Now, you are going to need an HTML editor for this particular page in order to place the code. In order to do that, you are going to want to find one of the free editors or use the one that you have. We are going to look for one called NVU by going to Google. And if we go to Google and we just type in NVU, it's typically going to be the first result that will come up. It's at nvu.com. You're going to want to go to that site. You'll then want to either download NVU or Composer. Either one will serve as an effective HTML editor. Now, once you have NVU open, you are going to then open the index file of the web page you are going to be tracking. Once you have the page open, you're going to go to your source code. Once you do that, you're going to come back to Google Analytics, and you're going to pick up the tracking code that you are going to be using for this particular site. And we're going to copy all of this code, and then we're going to go back to our HTML site in order to paste the code. Now, the code should go someplace in the header area, typically. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to place this code in the header area. Once we do that, we're going to click the Save button. And then our site will be ready to be uploaded to our server. We're then going to take the website files and we're going to drag and drop them into the directory where we're going to be installing the site. And as you can see, even though we pasted the code, the form of the website doesn't change, and now we're ready to track from this particular website. If you're going to have multiple one-page websites, you're going to want to make sure that Google Analytics is actually placed on each and every one of these pages if you want to track the activity. Now, one thing that we'll want to do is we'll want to make sure that the code is actually working. And one of the ways that we can do that is we can go to the dashboard and we can look at the real-time statistics in Google Analytics. And if we go to the real-time statistics, you'll see that there was one page view just 8 minutes ago, and that was when we were actually visiting the site. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Hello and welcome. When you are adding Google Analytics to a WordPress website, typically you will add the code using a plugin. However, you may be using a custom page builder or membership script. And when that is the case, there's typically a specific operation for you to use in order to get Google Analytics installed. In this particular case, we're going to look at OptimizePress, which is a WordPress page builder. Now, your page builder might be different, but you will want to check the instructions to find out exactly how to work with your particular theme or page builder. So let's go inside of this dashboard. And once we get there, we're going to go inside of OptimizePress. OptimizePress actually has its own menu and dashboard. We're going to go inside of the dashboard. When you get there, you're actually going to see that OptimizePress has a section called Analytics and Tracking. You're going to go inside of that area. And once you get there, OptimizePress gives you some instructions. So that typically you're going to be placing that code before the header tag, but in this case, OptimizePress gives you a location to actually put your code. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back, we're going to grab the code, and we're going to place the entire code inside of the Analytics and Tracking area for Google Analytics. Now, if you don't have a property already, you're going to create one, and you're going to do that by coming to the admin area. You're then going to come to this drop-down menu, and you're going to click Create New Property. And then you're going to give this property a name. You're going to put your website URL in, and then you're also going to define your industry category. You're going to set up your reporting time, and then you're going to click Get Tracking ID. So once you have the tracking code, you're going to grab all the tracking code, and you're going to copy it. And you're going to head back to your website. And when you're at your site, you're going to place the code inside of the tracking area. And again, every page builder and every site builder is going to be slightly different, but typically there will always be a section for you to place the Google Analytics code on a particular page or series of pages. Now, in this particular case, you are actually going to be able to use this code throughout the entire site through this theme. Once you've done that, then all you'll need to do is click Save Settings. And then your code will then be added to your custom page builder. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Hello and welcome. Now, it's quite possible that you want to take note of when a specific event happened so that you'll be able to measure it against the activity that you're seeing in your Google Analytics account. And Google Analytics has given you a tool inside of your system to help you with that process. And it's called Creating Annotations. Now, if you go to your Audience menu and you look at the overview for a particular site, that's what we are looking at right now, you will notice that there is activity on certain days. Now, we could mark a specific day when an activity happened so that we might be able to look at our chart or look at our data and see that there was an effect to what actually happened. In order to do that, we would then go to this middle bar and we would click this arrow, and then we would click Create New Annotation. Once we create the annotation, we're actually going to write in the actual activity. Now, we can decide whether or not we want this visibility to be shared or private. Once we do that, we can then click Save. We can then notate this by clicking the star. So that then the star will actually show up on our overview chart. Now there is another way to set up an annotation, and you can actually set one up for something that's going to happen in the future. And you can do that by going to your admin panel. And once you've actually picked the website that you're going to want to annotate, you're going to come to this right side, going to scroll down, and you're going to click Annotations. What you're then able to do is to click New Annotation. You can make sure that this annotation will be starred, and then you can actually pick your date and what the event is actually going to be. Now again, if you want the rest of your team or anyone else that's looking at the account to actually see your annotation, you're going to click Shared. If you don't, you can actually click Private, and it'll only show up then in your account. Once you actually have the annotation, you can click Create Annotation. You can then go back and create another annotation in the very same way if you want to mark the end of something or you want to mark the beginning of something new. Annotations are a way of your being able to track activity based on events that happen in your business. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Once you have Google Analytics set up on your website, you can have the system alert you to certain activity on your site. Maybe there's been a spike in traffic, or maybe there's been a decrease in traffic. Maybe there has been an unusual amount of activity to a particular thank you page where you have a download. When those cases happen, you can actually have Google Analytics send you a custom alert. And in this video, we're going to show you how to create those custom alerts. What you'll want to do first is you'll want to go to your admin panel. And then when you go all the way over to the right side, you'll see that there is a link there for custom alerts. Now when you click the custom alerts, what you're going to do is you're going to click New Alert. And then you're going to give your alert a name. Now you can have this set up for one or all of your sites. And what you're going to do is you're going to then decide the time period. So you might say on a specific day you want this alert to happen and the email to be sent. So you would actually then set up your email and then include any other emails that you want to have see the alert. Perhaps you have an outsourcer or you have someone you're working with or partner and you want them to get the email also. You can also set up your mobile device in order to receive a text message when the alert takes place. Now we'll need to go and take a look at the alert conditions to configure the actual email. Now what we can do is we can decide on what kind of traffic it'll actually give us. We can have it to be all traffic, or we can narrow it down by any of these menus. We can alert when certain events happen with either sessions, with users, with page views, with a bounce rate, with an average session duration, or new sessions. In this particular case, we're going to say that we want something to happen when there is a specific number of page views. Now what we're going to do is we're going to say that we want this alert to happen if the page views are going to increase by more than, we're going to say by 100 visitors, when a certain comparison is made. Now we can have the previous day, we can have the same day in the previous week, or the same day in the previous year. We could say that if our page views happened on the previous day, we want to have an alert sent to us. And so once we have the alert set up, what we're going to do is we're going to click Save Alert. And of course, once we have one alert set up, we can set up as many alerts as we like according to what we actually want to see. So again, all we'll need to do is we'll need to give the alert a name, but the most important thing will be what we want to actually see. Maybe we want to actually see if there is a bounce rate increasing by a certain value. And maybe perhaps we might say that we want the comparison time will be the previous day. So again, there's a lot of flexibility where you can actually have your Google Analytics send you an email when something is happening that you'll want to take note of inside of your website system. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video.